Hello, everyone. Welcome to Gentry's Journey. This is Carolyn Coleman. This is February the 29th. Can you believe it? We were just saying Happy New Year. So we have an honored guest today, and Sonya Mitchell. So she is a first-time author, and we're going to have this conversation with Sonya so that you all can get to know her better. She can tell us about her book and what other projects she has in the works. Welcome, Sonya.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Carolyn, for having me.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Now, tell us about yourself.
Okay. As you mentioned, my name is Sonya Mitchell. A lot of people who know me from way back when call me Sam. That's my nickname. And I'm a native of Birmingham, grew up in the Titusville area, and attended A.H. Parker High School. Can't you tell I'm proud of that?
Yes, yes, yes.
Graduated from Parker and then from there attended Talladega College, which I'm equally as proud of. And after graduating from Talladega College, I ventured into the world of sales and did college recruiting for many years, and ultimately ended up working for the U.S. Postal Service as a letter carrier, and then was promoted to a sales rep, and a lot of people will say, "Well, what did the post office sell?" You know.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I worked in the packaging department where we sold package services in terms of boxes and prior to mail and express mail. And our competition was at that time UPS and FedEx. Amazon was not even in the equation. And
Okay.
so yeah, that our competition was UPS and FedEx, and so that's what I did.
Okay. All right. So you were a college recruiter, you
Uh-huh. I started just as soon as I graduated from Talladega College. Um, I would say within 3 or 4 months, I was hired on as a college recruiter, and so I traveled extensively for the school and recruited students, and that was such a joy to meet so many young people from across the country and to encourage them to continue their education at Talladega College, and had a successful career. I was really blessed to be able to do that. And sometimes I see young people now, and they'll say, well, thank you so much for making a difference in my life. Thank you for encouraging me to continue my education. And so it was really, really a blessing to be able to do that.
That's great. That sounds really interesting.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't think I've met anyone who told me they were a college recruiter before. But that's
Uh,
not, hey,
well,
nevertheless, well, let's move on. So you have had an interesting professional background and in various aspects. That's great.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, now tell us about your book.
Okay. Fast forwarding, I would say in 2000, uh, maybe 19 or so, or 20, actually, I, like everybody, was pretty much homebound. And, after the pandemic or during the pandemic, and I always enjoyed walking. I would get out and walk for exercise purposes even before the pandemic. So I would get out and walk alone and just get my exercise, and walking gives me an opportunity to really meditate and spend more time with God and just enjoy nature. I love nature, and so I was just out walking one day, and I was living with my oldest sister, Shirley, in Bellevue Heights at that time. And I saw this straw hat on the ground, and instantly it caught my attention. And I thought, well, it's a straw hat. Where did the hat come from? How did the hat end up, in Birmingham? Because of obviously being a straw hat. the wind would lift it and pick it up and it would travel. And I sometimes wonder now even where the straw hat is, but I took a picture of the hat and decided to give it a story, give it its own story, because I truly believe that everyone and nearly everything has a story. It's just a matter of you sharing your story. So I gave the hat its own story and I titled it Hats Off. And I just wrote a little something on Instagram and shared it. And, people gave comments and feedback and so forth. And so from there, I started taking other pictures and I wouldn't even look for things to take pictures of. It was it's like God would speak to me and say, there's something about that or this. And, um, and I'd take the picture. It would just catch my eye. And so after so many photographs, I was sharing them with my sister, and she said, "Well, you really should consider creating a coffee table book because you don't see much of those anymore." And I thought, okay, so I didn't really jump on it right then. I was thinking, okay, that's a thought, da da da. But I did start doing the research and doing my homework and. Uh, I reached out to a publisher, which I'm not at liberty to name, but a publisher in New York, because I Googled their website and it said we do accept unsolicited materials. So I thought, perfect, and I put it all together very professionally. And I was so proud of it. And I shipped it to them via the US Postal Service. and
Okay.
and I never heard anything back from them. Never, ever, ever heard anything. So that was really disheartening. But one thing I did before I sent them my picture, excuse me, I decided to have all of my pictures registered with copyright. That way, no one could, use my pictures or steal my pictures or take advantage of my pictures or use them, in any other kind of way. So they were registered, and they still are. So I was safe in that regard, but still, not to hear anything back, no response at all, was a little discouraging. So I sort of put it to the side for a little while, and then I thought, well, I really want to get this done. It should be done. It's these are really nice pictures, I think, and God led me to add scriptures to each picture, so that made it even more, not about me, but to hopefully motivate and encourage other people in their day-to-day walk in this thing we call life.
That's great. Um, I can sort of understand that journey of sending something to someone and never hearing back when they advertise that they take unsolicited work. You had the forethought to trademark everything, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I say that to say the publishing this author's world is full of surprises.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, yes, you wrote it. You got the idea, you wrote it, you got it together, and you sent it off and never heard anything back. Um, that is disheartening. It's very discouraging, and a lot of people would have given up, because it's not right and it's not fair, and there's no two ways about it.
Mm-hmm.
But you kept going,
I did.
and that in lies why we're here today. If
Mm-hmm.
you had not kept putting yourself out there, moving forward, sort of redirecting the project, so to speak, when God gave you scripture, to utilize that as a way to catapult you back into what you wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's wonderful. I'm glad you didn't let that discourage you, because I tell people oftentimes, and I'm not a professional, but I tell people oftentimes, be careful in this author's world, because there are a lot. And one of my cousins like, "What do you mean, be careful?" I said, "There are people who are not who they say that they are."
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you can get that by speaking with them. Sometimes you can get it by, uh, email communicating with them. I said, they just, if it doesn't feel right, don't do it.
Mhm.
Because nine times out of 10, hey, let's just call them what they are. They're scammers, you know, they're scammers out here.
Right,
You want to take someone else's work and present it as yours. That it's sad, but it's true. And it's
right.
not just within in this office world. It's a, a family member created something at work. And it was like, I see my project, but nobody's talking to me about it. And I said, did you have permission to do that? Oh, yeah, they gave me permission. I said, did you sign anything? Did you have anything in writing? No, I showed them, what I was thinking about doing, and I did it. And I said, well, you won't get a dime. And he was like, Auntie, and I was like, you won't. Because I had just spoken to a gentleman and his wife about a year prior, and he had come up with an idea. And it really garnered the company a lot of money. And he didn't get a dime. And he was so brokenhearted because they were encouraged by what he had and what he did. I said, but when you work on company time,
Hmm.
and they have this disclaimer, whatever you build or make or produce for the company belongs to the company.
Hmm.
And so he was brokenhearted. I mean, his wife just had to get it off her chest, and we were out there with the kids while they were playing soccer, and I was just brokenhearted as he was. More so, because I was like, you just want people to do what's right. You just want
Right.
people to be fair. But
Hmm.
you hate to say that in days of old, because it's not. There's still some good people out here with good
Right.
intentions, but I can see that being being heartbreaking for you and for those two scenarios that I gave you.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
but we can't stop. If it's something that's in your heart to do, um, complete it.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, make
Right.
it work.
Make it work, exactly,
Hmm.
because once it's on your heart to do something, I don't think it ever goes away.
I
It's
agree.
always, yeah, I think it's just always something that's sort of a burning, I got to get this done, but I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know, but it's always there. So once you actually, and I'm not saying that it's easy to do, but once you've actually completed the project, then it's so fulfilling, it's so rewarding, because you realize it's really not about you at the end of the day. When we read a book, when we watch a film, when we attend a play or something like that, and it's what we get from it. So it's definitely worth fighting for and fighting through in
I
order to get
agree.
it done because it just you never know, even if it impacts one person, you just never know.
I agree with you. I mean, I agree with you. Even if it just impacts you, I have written, I have published, I have sold. So now I am truly a published author. You have completed, your goal. Uh, and
You're
that's
right.
some people haven't done
You're
that.
right.
They still have, like you say, I have a friend who's a publisher, and she says the same thing. Everyone living and dead has a story, and your story does need to be told. That's
Hmm.
basically part of her introduction of herself and her work, and that is so true. So um I think we should tell our story, whatever God puts on our heart to do.
Hmm.
It may not be perfect, but hey, it's mine.
Right. Own it.
We'll work
Own
on
it.
perfection later. So I'm glad you pursued your goal. Glad you pursued your dream. And I'm glad to have met you.
Thank you.
Now,
Likewise.
when you talk about your writing process, you saw the hat, you took a picture, you framed a story around it, and then after the event, you started putting in scripture, and you did that for the rest of your book, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, were the scriptures something God dropped in your spirit, or did you search for those?
I searched for those, and that's a
Okay.
very good question, Carolyn. I did search for the scripture, and I think that was the longest process in completing this book. And I tell people all the time, when they say, "Well, we hear you wrote a book," and I said, "Well, no, technically I didn't write it. It was already written, because they are scriptures from the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I created the book. Um, but yeah, when it one, I had quite a few pictures that I had taken, and so I had to go and decide. This was a praying process. This is not something I said, okay, let me just do it and it's a fly by night. No, it took a lot of prayer, um, um, and encouraging myself to actually, move forward with it. But just going through each picture and said, okay, which one do I really want to use for this book, this particular book, which is titled Picture the Picture.
Mm-hmm.
And that was not even the original title of the book. I was thinking I would title the book Hats Off, you know.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but God led me to Picture the Picture, and ultimately what that means is to not just look at what's obvious, you know, because once you see the book, once you actually read my book and take a look at the pictures, you'll see that most of the things that you never would even stop and pay any attention to. Most of the pictures are of things that are on the ground. One would consider trash, that people just would not ordinarily pay any attention to. So there's a message behind that. What looks and seems worn out or no good or, just has been actually has beauty. It still has some type of quality of life in it. You just have to look for it, you know. And so, but yeah, just going through and deciding which pictures to use. And then once I decided which pictures to use for the book, finding the scripture I thought was just, because each picture has a title.
Sure.
Each picture has a title, and so I wanted to find a scripture that I thought would coincide with the title and the picture itself. So it was a tedious process. I know the Bible, but I don't know the Bible like that. I'm not a spiritual scholar or you know. Uh, so I had to really do some homework, and I really had to do some research, and it was eye-opening for me, because I learned more about the Bible. I learned more about God, and I learned more about spirituality. So the entire thing has really been a blessing for me. So like you, I would encourage people to move forward with whatever the project is that he or she is working on or has thought about for years. And they're like, I don't know. Some people are like, I don't know. Nobody's going to be interested. You just don't know. But like you also said a few minutes ago, it's so fulfilling for yourself. It's so
Absolutely.
rewarding to actually complete this. Whatever the project is, it could be something small. I've even had people say, wow, you've created a book that's something, and in their mind, it's not the easiest thing to do, and it's not, but it's so worth doing. From the littlest thing that you think in your mind is small to whatever, just do it.
Oh, I agree with you. Because it will nag at you until
Yes,
you get it done.
until you get it done. That's
You
right.
know, and when something is kind of like nipping at your heels or you're being kind of nudged in a certain way,
Hmm.
the only way to get rid of that nipping at your heel, you've got to give it some attention, right?
That's right.
You've got to do something to take care of it. And I can say when I started writing, I've always wanted to, but life gets in the way and things of that nature.
Hmm.
When I started, it was like couldn't stop for me. Just couldn't stop. Idea after idea after idea. And my first works were fiction. So, I think you can do more with fiction than sometimes reality. But
Hmm.
it's okay. It was something I wanted to do, got it accomplished, and I'm okay with it. Now,
Hmm.
I have other things that I would love to write about, but time constraints. But that
Hmm.
first itchy pulling, nipping at my heel is not as exaggerated now as it was in the beginning, if that makes sense.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
Okay. Now we talked a little bit about your publishing journey.
Hmm.
Um, Now, did you self-publish this book?
I did.
Okay, great. Okay.
Hmm.
And your
Yeah,
book, your book is in hardback, right?
it is.
Okay, okay. How was
Hmm.
that process?
It was not as bad or as challenging as I thought it would have been. And this, just having this conversation with you, Carolyn, is just sort of reminding me of how awesome God is, because um, it just pushed me. It really pushed me. I've never created a book in my life, you know, and being a self-publisher, I had to do everything, but I had to learn how to do it. I had to learn how to do it. I tell people I have two new best friends, and their names are Google and YouTube. You know, those were my go-tos. I'm telling you, and everything is on the internet. Everything is out there. Whatever you have questions about, you're not sure about, just Google it, or YouTube it, and you'll be amazed. So just to going in and inserting a picture on a page, and then having to fit the scripture to the page as well, and then fit in the title, and it was an amazing process. And after because before doing that, after I did not hear back from the New York publisher, and just kind of got myself back together, I reached out to a local publishing company here, or printer, called Rocky Heights. Rocky Heights, um, a print and binding, which is located in Homewood on West Valley Avenue. So I reached out to them, set an appointment, and they said, okay, yes, we'd love to create your book for you. However, this is what we need you to do. So even with that, they don't do all the work. You still have to put your book together, and then they do the printing of the book. So they explain how everything works, and hardback versus soft cover, the whole nine. But yeah, it's a learning process. And with self-publishing, that means that I didn't pay any other company. I had to pay them to print it, but everything about picture to picture I own. you
Okay,
know uh yeah.
and that's great. That's great. And hey, right here under your nose.
Right here under your nose.
Mm.
Exactly. And I highly recommend Rocky Heights. They're great to work with, very patient, and they explain everything to me. And, anytime I'm ordering new books, or a set of, additional books, they'll send me an email. Hey, this is where you are. You've sold so many, and, do you want to replenish? And so, yeah, it's been great working with them.
That's good. That is really good. Um, because that can be grueling, especially after your first experience being not the best results that you wanted.
Right.
To trust somebody again is hard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, Now, how do you engage your readers? Do you have a particular way of doing that?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
How do you engage your readers?
Um, Really, my biggest, I guess, platform, if you will, would be via social media. You know, I'm always sharing photographs about picture to picture and just sort of giving updates, about my book. And um, I've reached out to libraries around the city and not just libraries and not just in Birmingham, but, surrounding areas and outside of the state of Alabama and promoting my book that way in order to engage readers. So that's been rewarding. That's been interesting. It's sort of like sight unseen. Please, hey, let me come and talk about my book, and they know nothing about me or my book. But yeah, just networking and asking people to allow me to come for whether it's a women's conference, whether it's like I said, at the local library, if they have, get to know your author day or some type of event like that. And then I'll go and do a talk back and share my book. And I've even gone to my alma mater, Talladega College. I reached out to let them know that I have a book, and I wanted to go and share with the students there. And that was the ultimate for me, to go back to the school I graduated from, where I learned much of my writing skills and shared my book with the students there. So, but yeah, the word of mouth, uh, doing the homework, doing the legwork, reaching out to organizations, to individuals, and just letting them know, because nobody's going to promote my book like me.
No one.
Yeah,
I mean,
no
no one.
one. People can tell you all day long, I'm so proud of you and congratulations, and that's awesome, but nobody's going to really, really, really promote my book like me.
No one.
So,
Absolutely no one. Um,
mm-mm,
you learn so much. This young lady, she came to work one day. I'm now a published author, and I'm so happy for her. I'm clapping the whole bit. I was like, I am so happy for you. That's something I've always wanted to do. And she was like, right, Miss Carolyn, right. And I was like, I probably will, but I was just so happy for her. And so one day we were talking after I had written, and she said, writing is not the hard part. It's the marketing. I said, yeah, they didn't tell us that part. And we had a big laugh about it because you can't take it to heart what you don't know.
mm-hmm,
But you have to learn. The
mm-hmm,
process is out here. It's just, where do we get started? How do we get started? And I know when you were saying that you went back to Talladega to
mm-hmm,
do basically promote your book, that's
mm-hmm.
just like coming full circle. So I know that had to mean a lot to you.
It did.
So,
It really
and
did.
that's wonderful. Now, how were you received? Were you well received?
I was well received. As a matter of fact, each place, and to God be the glory, each place I've gone to promote my book and to share my book and to engage with other people, um, it's been just so rewarding for me. I've met other authors and we've shared each other's books. Um, um, but yes, just it, I haven't had, I've had people to say, and it's been such an interesting discussion, because once you see the pictures in my book, it's like, wow, what made you take a picture of that? Well, I never would have paid any attention to that. And I've had people to say, well, you know what, Sonya, I don't see what you see, but this is what I see. And it's been so mind blowing. It really has. As a matter of fact, Carolyn, I was at um, I was at Hueytown Primary School a couple of weeks ago, and they had the Black History program and um, asked people to come in to read to the book to the children, and whether you had a book or not, whether you had written a book or not. And so I was there, and the kids were maybe 6, 7 years old, and I was showing them some pictures, and it was so awesome. It was because there was, kids. they're gonna just say whatever, you know. And it was so awesome because they would look at the picture and I'd say, well, what do you see right here? You know, and they just blurted out and blurted out. And I said, well, this is what I saw. And they said, huh? You know, well, I see, and it was so beautiful. It really was. So even, you know, I don't care how old you are, you know, where you come from, what your background is. Um, we're all God's children, you know,
Yeah,
but everybody is different and everybody sees things different, and that makes the world go round, you know.
it does.
Yeah.
And and even when you write and you get people to try to interpret, not to try to interpret, what's your interpretation of this? They may come out with a totally different scenario.
Hmm.
Not just a picture, but in the words that they have read. So,
Hmm.
yes, you know, we all have our own imaginations or the way that we perceive things to be. Sometimes it's best to get the quote unquote whole picture, you know,
Hmm.
but when you're doing a demonstration or read, you can't read the entire book. And you know, it reminds me of just art. It is art. What do you see? What you see is
Uh-huh.
gonna be different than what I see.
Hmm. Hmm.
You
It's
know,
art. Yeah.
it is art. It is definitely that.
Yeah, yeah, but I've really been having fun with my book, and I believe I love to have fun. I tell people all the time, I'm a kid at heart. You know, I'd rather be having fun than just doing whatever. But but this has been fun for me because I've met so many people uh, as a result of my book and made some really great connections, like with you, you know, I'm just enjoying it. I really am. I'm having a ball with it, and I can't thank you enough again for having me on your podcast as a guest. So this has been great.
Oh, you're more than welcome. That was another thing I learned, and whoever would have thought that I would have a podcast? I mean, I just wanted
Hmm.
to write my story. I just wanted to get my fiction out there. And
Hmm.
I also do um what do we call it? Inspirational nonfiction.
Hmm.
So it can be scripturally based or a part of the anthologies, and that has helped with writing as well. But it pulls on you because it is true life experiences that you've been through,
Hmm.
you know, and you want to craft it in a way, you know, that's compelling to the reader, but at the same time, you're telling your story. And those have been interesting to be a part of. They have been rewarding to be a part of. So,
Hmm.
you know, you get a chapter, you write your chapter, and you have it placed in the anthology. And it's one we're working on now, Women of the Waiting Room 2, volume 2. And, you know, the waiting room is different things to different people.
Hmm.
You know, you have various experiences in the waiting room. So you write about your waiting room experience. Um,
Hmm.
so um, it has been a journey. I'm glad of it. But I said that to say when I started, I did locate some platforms to be on, but it's kind of a struggle. Okay.
Hmm.
So I created this platform for new authors. And not just new authors or first time authors, but also because I'm a nurse, you know, we do health related topics on here as well. But you need a platform in order for to, you know, to garner new readers or to get information out to the listening audience. So we'll be on several platforms, you know, national and international. So
Okay.
yes, you'll garner all of that. Um, but that was someone said, you need to do a podcast. I'm like, I don't think so. You know, so it's a lot of things aren't in your mind to do. But I
Mhm,
have met some very interesting authors by having this platform. And I've
oh,
interviewed some very various people in various aspects of their career and in medicine and sharing their stories and sharing their testimonies about why they started this business or why they became this and where they are now. So
mhm,
it has been good for me to hear because, a lot of times we're just in our own little world.
mhm, mhm,
So to hear what someone else has to say and do is inspiring in and of itself.
mhm, mhm.
So, what future plans do you have? Are you going to do a volume two?
That's a good question. I'm not sure because I'm still taking pictures. Just being out and about, I can see something and it just catches my eye. So, volume two is definitely a consideration. Um, but I'm thinking too that I will probably write maybe a couple of short stories and just see how those go. Um, I love documentary films, and in fact, I've done a few documentary films, some of which I've actually submitted to the Sidewalk Film Festival here in Birmingham, which is a great event that I highly recommend to anyone who's not familiar with Sidewalk. But I've had a couple of films to be accepted and to premiere a few years ago. So I love all things film, just about. I really do, especially documentary films, because those create, allow people to share their stories. My first film was um, on a young man that I met in the Trustful area when I was living out there, and I knew that was something very unique, something very special about him in a beautiful way, and um, and what struck me about him was, when I'd go to the Y and work out, and I'd see him there, and whenever he'd speak to people, he always called them by their name, and and that just blew my mind. I'm thinking, how does he remember everybody's name, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So I got to know him and wrote a letter to his parents and said, "Hi, my name is Sonya Mitchell. I'm a filmmaker, and I've met your son, Jesse, and I'd like to get to know him a little bit better and share his story. Do you mind?" And so they responded graciously and said, um, um, "Jesse is autistic, but we'd love for you to share his story." And so I titled that one "Jesse Speaks," and I spelled speaks Speeks because I just wanted it to be different.
Sure.
And so shared Jesse's story as a short film, but I wanted everybody to know Jesse, you know. And so that was a beautiful thing. So I just love documentary films, and I'm just in prayer about what would be my next film, and hopefully submit it to not only Sidewalk but other festivals around the country, and just see what happens.
That's great. Oh, that's great. Oh, that goes into yeah, oh, that's great. I have been to Sidewalk. It has been a while, but I found it to be very interesting. I
Hmm.
like people, I like to see what their creative mind brings out.
Hmm.
And so it's just I'm one of those people who I never would have thought to do that. Oh, that's wonderful. But
Hmm.
yes, I have been to Sidewalk and I have enjoyed it. Um, and then you get busy and you forget about certain things or you just don't have time to do it. But I
Yeah,
do
yeah.
encourage everyone, if you get an opportunity to go to the Sidewalk Film Festival or any of the arts and crafts, because usually they have music out there as well. They have a live band and things of that nature. I love to
Oh
see people
yeah.
creating different
And,
things.
and and they offer classes. They have workshops during the festival. So for people who are interested in writing or making films or editing or the financial side of filmmaking, um, they have these workshops that are included in the festival. Of course, there's a cost associated with the weekend activities, but it's worth it. It's worth it.
Sure. I mean, if you believe in what you're doing and if you want to really learn something, yeah,
Hmm.
there's going to be a cost to some things. I know everybody likes free, but it takes money to
But
set up
it's
for
an
these
investment.
events.
Yeah, it's an investment in yourself. Look
It
at it like.
is. It is an investment in yourself. So you have to think that I'm worth it. I am worth this investment. And that is what you need to think of when you're thinking of monies and what you really want to do.
Hmm. Hmm. And it's never
Now,
too late, it's never too late to start. It's never too late. I tell people that all the time.
I
When people say,
agree.
I've always wanted to write a book, I've always wanted to, or I want to go back to school, whatever. It's never too late. So um, again, it's not easy, but just say, okay, you know what? I'm gonna do this. Even if I don't write but 10 minutes a day. You got to start somewhere. So um, let me encourage you to write that book, to create that film, to go back to school, to take that baking class or whatever you're interested in doing. Um, write that poem, you know, please do it.
I agree. And I tell people I would not want you to live in the life of regret,
Hmm.
regretting that you never did some of the things that are positive that you want to do,
Hmm.
something
Hmm.
that's going to be a part of you. And you don't want to live in that land. I woulda, coulda, or shoulda,
Hmm.
because like we said earlier, it'll be just kind of like nagging at you just a little bit for for you to get it done.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, what advice would you give an aspiring author based on your experience?
To pray about it. And once you've actually prayed about whatever you want to write about, then do your research, do your homework, um, and start writing. You know, if you write 10 minutes a day or 2 pages a day, but start, you know, and work with what you have. I've learned that you don't have to have a fancy computer or this tablet or just get a notebook and a pencil and just start writing. Use what you have. The story is there. The story is in you. You are a creative being. We all are. We all are, and everybody is different. So don't look at someone else's story or don't look at someone else, how someone else does theirs, because you're different. And embrace your difference. Embrace who you are, accept who you are, and just do it. And if you're not able to self-publish, then reach out because there are times that you may be able to get a sponsor. You just never know. You may be able to go to your church and talk to your pastor and say, um, I'm interested in writing this book, but I don't have the funds. You never know how people will invest in you because most people want to see you succeed and they want to see you make it, you know. But just start a few minutes a day writing down something. Write the title down. Write the title of your book or whatever you think you want to do, and put it on your refrigerator as a reminder. This is what I want to do, and keep in mind it's not about you. So when you create something, just know you're not creating it for yourself. Ultimately you're going to be proud of what you've accomplished, but just think about the lives that you can impact by just telling your story.
Oh, I
So
agree with you. I totally agree.
yes.
What's the term? Get her done.
Get her done.
However long it takes you, you're on your own timetable. I
Hmm.
just, like you say, 10 minutes a day. Uh, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
That is,
Make the commitment. Yeah, make
mhm,
the commitment because, as they say now, life starts lifing and things come up and things get in the way.
that is
If
true.
you say, if you say, you know what, I'm going to just carve out 10 minutes, and then before you know it, that 10 minutes turns into 20 minutes, and
It
then
does.
half an hour, you
It
know,
does.
and doing it. And so it can be done. It can be done. I don't care how busy we are and what our professions are, you know, it can be done. So don't tell yourself, well, I'm too busy, or I can't write, or I don't know how to start, because it's just a matter of starting and talking to, reach out to Carolyn. She's a great resource. She is an excellent resource, a plethora of information that she's willing to share in order to help you get started. So, yes, get her done.
That's wonderful. I appreciate that. Um, because one thing, connections matter.
Hmm.
Once you connect with good people and you see the work that they do, I don't mind passing that name on.
Hmm. Hmm.
But you do have to invest in yourself.
Right.
That that definitely has to happen.
Right. And then when you're doing it, those people who will listen to this podcast, when you're doing it, don't stress out about it. Make it fun.
That's right. Please
Make it
don't.
fun because you
Mm-mm.
don't want to be stressed. It's not something that's supposed to stress you out and have you been out of shape and you get all worked up. No, make it, laugh at yourself. You're gonna make mistakes and be like, oh Lord, I won't do that again. So, you laugh at yourself, you find the humor in it, and that's how you get through it, and talk to someone else, talk to other people. But at the end of the day, if you have the vision, a lot of people won't see your vision. A lot of people will probably tell you, girl, I wouldn't do that because it makes, or guy, it wouldn't make any sense at all. But if it's your vision, so not everybody's going to see things that
Never,
you see, you
never. They're
know,
never going to see it. Some people will
no,
never see it.
they'll never see it. They will never see it. And that's okay because God made you different.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. Hmm.
I agree. And if it's what you want to do, and like I said, if it's constructed, do it.
Hmm.
Because, like you say, it's your vision. God gave you that vision. He didn't give
Hmm.
it to you. He didn't give it to so and so.
Hmm.
You do what he has given you to do. You
Right.
meet the requirements of what he has asked you to do. And it'll be
Right.
okay. It'll be okay.
Mhm. It'll be just fine.
Because everyone is different. And I know some people have asked me, well, how much money have you made on books? And I went, is that a thing? Is that a thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I said, I'm not writing for, I'm an indie author. Go look that up. I give them a little project. Go look that up. You know, a lot of times we write for self-satisfaction.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
um, people, you will get those type of questions. Um, Now, how has your writing or publishing your book changed you professionally and or professionally?
Uh, it's really, um, I think, and I don't know if this would be more on a professional level or personal level, but it's really given me more confidence
Yes.
in something. Once I completed this book, it's like, wow, I did that. And not that it's all because, and let me say this too. I had people to help me, like the cover of my book was, the illustration on the cover was done by my great nephew, the brilliant Chasten Hopper. Miss Carla Youngblood, a very, very dear friend, did the editing for me. Um, so I didn't just do this by myself. I had people who actually had a hand in helping me to create this book. So and I've also learned too that as a result of doing this book, that it's okay to ask for help because I don't know everything.
I
You
agree.
know,
It is.
so ask for help. But yes, it's given me more of a sense of confidence that I can do, if I did this, I can do other things. I can do other things. Um, so yes, I would say that would be the biggest thing.
That's great. That's great. Because yes to everything you said, it does give you confidence. And even though you have help, you have help. Even
Hmm.
though you self-published, you still had help, so you
Right.
get to meet people in this arena, if you will, um, that will give you tips
Hmm.
and tools to do more.
Hmm.
Whether that was your intent or not, it's just it all falls into place.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's wonderful. That is absolutely wonderful. Now, where can people find you and your book?
People can find me and my book via my website, which is www.suitsme.com. And suits me is spelled SOOTSME.com. www.suitsme.com.
Okay. And any
And I'm
social,
also on social media. I'm
that's what I
sorry.
was going to say, social media.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
also on social media as Sonya Sam Mitchell. Sonya is spelled Sonya. Sam Mitchell is all together. Sonya Sam Mitchell. Please follow me on Instagram, Facebook. I'd love to hear from you. And I'd love to have your support of Picture to Picture. I think you would be blessed by my book. And just from, if nothing else, seeing a picture that might just stand out, or even a scripture that touches your heart. So I'd love to have your support.
That is wonderful. Thank you, Sonya, for being a guest on Gentry's Journey. We have truly enjoyed having you. It has been a blessing to have you here today to tell us about your book and your experience. I think people will grow from what they hear from you.
Hmm. Thank you.
I
Thank you
think
so much again.
I think that will truly happen. And it will give them some encouragement to go ahead and do what they're seeking to do in their
Hmm.
creative mind.
Right, right. Just do it.
Just
Do it.
do
You'll feel so much better about yourself. Um, so yes, do it.
it. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, listening audience. We do appreciate it. We're in true gentry fashion. We're going to close with the scripture that we opened up with. When a man ways is pleasing to the Lord, he makes even his enemies to be at peace with him. That's Proverbs 16:7. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sonya. You have a wonderful day. And we'll chat soon.
Sounds good.